From Dallas to Los Angeles and a screen near you, here is B Wildcat 2.
Alright, all you Big 14 fans out there, welcome back. This is week 13 here. We are almost wrapped up to the end of the regular season. Of course, there will not be a championship game for the Big 14. They did not program that into the game when they said you could do conference realignment. But they do have the bowl projections up now. We'll see how Big 14 teams are doing. You can see if you can slow this down. Missouri is projected to go to the Poinsettia Bowl against Air Force. That ought to be a tough matchup. Washington State, that's not us. SMU, that's not us still. I'm surprised. Okay, here we go. The Holiday Bowl featuring the Texas Tech Red Raiders and the Stanford Cardinal. That ought to be a good one. I'm surprised there haven't been more Big 14 teams to this point, as the Alamo Bowl will be Kansas State 7-3, UCLA 8-1. That ought to be a good one too. Oklahoma State and Michigan in the Insight Bowl. Texas and Boise State in the Armed Forces Bowl. We'll see West Virginia and Michigan State in the Meineke Car Care Bowl. Let's see, FIU and Texas A&M in the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl. And the let's see here. Okay, I don't think there are any more. Oh, here we go. USC 8-1, number 3 in the country. Oklahoma 8-1, number 5 in the country in the Orange Bowl. Florida 7-3, 18th in the country against Nebraska. That ought to be a good one. Number 2 is also 7-3, 25th in the country in the AT&T Cotton Bowl. And I believe that's it for all the Big 14 teams that have made the bowl game. So unless they win again or something, that ought to be the way the bowls turn out. So we'll take a look and see as we head to scores and schedules. This week it is Kansas State 7-3, 5-2 in Big 14 play, number 20 in the country, traveling to Nebraska, taking on the 7-3 as well, 5-2 in the conference as well. Nebraska Cornhuskers, number 25 in the country. That ought to be a good matchup there. The winner will become 6-2 and most likely win the Big 14 North, but that's not the point. We will get into that one at the end of this video. Auburn and Florida, Michigan and Iowa, San Diego State, Utah, Virginia Tech, Boston College, NC State, Clemson, Washington, and Connecticut. FCS Southeast, Georgia, Alabama, and Kentucky. Cincinnati and Rutgers, Notre Dame, Minnesota, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Duke and Georgia Tech, LSU at Ole Miss in the game of the week for some reason. I would have had the game of the week be Ohio State, Wisconsin. That ought to be the game of the week right there, not LSU and Ole Miss. But alright, here we go. TCU has 3 games to go, 4-5. They need to win all 3 of them just to go to a bowl game against 8-1 Oklahoma Sooners, 5-1 in Big 14 play. TCU's 4-5, 1-5 in Big 14 play. This will be a tough one at number 5 Oklahoma in Norman, and it will be Oklahoma dashing all hopes of TCU going to a bowl game this year with a 44-21 victory over the over the Horned Frogs. TCU falls to 4-6, 1-6 in conference. They will have to win their last 2 to become just bowl eligible, but that doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to go to a bowl game. Oklahoma improves to 9-1, 6-1 in conference play. FCS Southeast is taking on South Carolina. Oklahoma State, number 16 in the country, 7-2, 4-2 overall, or 4-2 in Big 14 play. They travel to Lubbock, Texas to take on the 7-2 Red Raiders, who are also 4-2 in conference play. This might just decide who wins the Big 14 South. I don't know. It will be the Oklahoma State Sooners pulling off the upset over the Texas Tech Red Raiders, 41-28. Oklahoma State improving to 8-2, 5-2 in conference play. Texas Tech falls to 7-3, 4-3 in conference play. Stanford and Oregon in a matchup between 6-3 teams there. USC, UCLA, 8-1 teams. How is UCLA not ranked? My goodness, that ought to be a good one. That ought to be if UCLA, if they're good, they might pull off the upset. So, that's it for the ranked games this week. We got Kansas State and Nebraska that will be at the end of this game, but we got 3 games that might just decide the fate of Big 14 bowl game wise. Iowa State needs to win their last 3. They start off with a game against Kansas, who's 4-6. They need to win their last 2. So who wants it more? Who wants to go to a bowl game more? Iowa State is 2-4 in conference. Kansas is 2-5 in conference. 4-6 overall. Iowa State is 3-6. Who will get the victory? Kansas or Iowa State? It will be Iowa State pulling off the victory. They want to go to a bowl game, I suppose. 59-7 over Kansas. Good grief. When was this? Where was this earlier in the season when they were struggling? Iowa State improves to 4-6, 3-4 in conference play. The Jayhawks fall to 4-7 now, 2-6 in conference play. Kansas, all of their bowl hopes are pretty much dashed with that loss there. Missouri 5-5, 2-4 in conference play. They take on the Colorado Buffaloes. Missouri needs a win to stay on the right side of 500 mark. 2-4 in conference play. Colorado 3-7. Their bowl hopes are all gone. 2-5 in conference play. They're pretty much packing it up for the season. But what will happen? It will be Missouri coming away with a much-needed victory over the Buffaloes of Colorado, 24-17. Here, as Missouri improves to 6-5, 3-4 in conference play. Colorado falls to 3-8, 2-6 in the Big 14 play. Last game of the week might decide both of these teams' fate as if they're going to a bowl game or not. Texas A&M 5-5, 3-3 in Big 14 play, going to Waco for the rivalry game. The battle for the Brazos, 4-6 Baylor, 2-4 in conference play. Who wants it more? If Baylor wins, they'll be 5-6, and as well as A&M. Both of these teams will be 3-4 if Baylor in conference play. If Baylor wins, 5-6 overall. If A&M wins, they will improve to 6-5, 4-3 in conference play, and that is what will happen. A&M wins 24-16 over Baylor, dashing the Bears' hopes for going to a bowl game. A&M improves to 6-5, 4-3 in conference play. A&M, if they really desperately want to go to a bowl game, they need to win next week as well. But they're 6-5 now, 4-3 in conference play. They have clinched. They have bowl, or they are bowl eligible now. Excuse me. And Baylor is 4-7. That pretty much dashed all their hopes of going to a bowl game, as they're now 2-5 in conference play. Last game for the week 13, you guys. Kansas State, Nebraska. Both of these squads are 7-3. The winner will become 8-3, 6-2 in conference play. The loser will fall to 7-4, 5-3 in conference play. It ought to be a good one here. From Nebraska, it will be the Kansas State Wildcats will pull away with the victory late, 30-27 over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Kansas State improves to 8-3, 6-2 in conference. Nebraska falls to 7-4, 5-3 in conference play. Nebraska had a lead until halftime. Kansas State had a 14-10 lead. Then it was 24-16, and Nebraska just didn't have enough time to come back and get a field goal to tie the game up. So that's a shame too. But that's it for week 13, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Come back as we end the regular season next week, week 14, and then we'll decide. We'll see who will go to the bowl game and all that good stuff. So talk to you guys soon. Peace.